What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to Cool Fred's Garage. So I'm still out here working on the '73 Chevy Impala. So I got the car tore apart a little bit more, working on getting the old wiring harness out of there. So just a few videos, kind of like a series of videos, like I do some of my other content. But got the car torn down a little bit. So I'm gonna show you guys what we got. So I'm in the middle of getting ready to rewire the car. So I've got some things taken apart further, and I'm gonna show you guys what we got. All right, so this car right here, this is my 1973 Chevy Impala. So you can see I got it torn down a little bit further I can get to everything. So pretty much what I've started doing is I got a lot more stuff gathered up and kind of organized. This right here is my microphone wire to the radio, but that's just kind of just in the way. But pretty much what I've done is I've labeled where a lot of this stuff goes. For instance, this right here goes to the gauges, and I put OG or original, then I put not needed. So I don't need any of this right here or this right here because I have, or this thing, because I have the Dakota digital gauges. So I basically unbolted this right here. So pretty much back in 2015, I've already converted this over or installed the Dakota digital gauges. So to do that, you got to splice into some of your inputs from the factory wiring. But what I'm doing now is kind of just get everything, I can kind of get it disconnected. And when I take out this old harness here, so I got pretty much everything labeled, and it's to the point where I can kind of just like lay it. I just got to sit it over the steering column because that's how it sits. But pretty much this section right here, which is pretty much for the lights, the gauges and stuff like that. So I got everything labeled. This harness over here is for the lights. That thing there, that goes to the light switch. And I got these individual stuff labeled. This goes to the wiper switch. So just to give you guys an idea. So also what I found is I probably got to grab a light, but there's like I think I tried to talk about this before, but up in there's kind of like another like distribution box or bulkhead up in there. I just feel like the dash supply the radio wiring and stuff like that. So I see that a lot of that stuff goes in there, and probably like a lot of the for the lights, multiple power supply, like for the radio and different stuff like that. So probably there's one constant hot feed that goes in there. Then you probably got a switched hot feed for when the switch is on that goes in there. So I've got the front carpet piece out. So the back carpet piece is almost ready to come out. So I got some of my audio stuff going through here. But the tail lights go through this section here onto the back of the car through this connection here, and it kind of goes up through here. So I'm trying to get ready to get that fished out. So that runs all along this area here on the tail light and rear harness and stuff for like the fuel sending unit and all of that stuff. So I'm in the process of basically just trying to get everything so I can pull it out. I've also kind of gathered this right here is the AC control panel. There is a power feed wire that goes up to it from the fuse box, but everything else looks like it's on kind of like a separate harness, and I can kind of deal with that later, which that goes kind of around in here. So this is like the AC powered, and the blower switch is over here. So then this stuff goes through this harness here, and it kind of goes, look like it kind of goes through here. And I found the area out there in the firewall where most of that comes out. So also what I've been doing is just kind of spending a little time just kind of, like this right here is for the blower supply. I'm assuming like the wiper harness is pretty much like over here that goes right there. So, but this vehicle right here, I think there's like a 3/8 or a 7/16 bolt in the middle of this bulkhead connector. So I'm able to separate the outside wires from under the hood from the inside. So I can kind of deal with this stuff out here. I can kind of, separate this, take it apart, and then I can put it together in one piece and figure out what I need to figure out if I run into a problem. But a lot of the things, if I separate it into separate systems, as far as like, deal with the tail lights at one time, the ignition side at one time, and stuff like that, I'll be able to pretty much kind of, that's my plan anyway, just to kind of, once I kind of figure out the different areas that the wires are going, I'm kind of just breaking down the separate systems and just deal with kind of one area at a time type deal. So pretty much all this stuff right here is this headlight and turn signal harnesses for the left and right side. Everything else, with some of this stuff I have added here. This is my fail-safe system for my fan control box, and then this right here was my hide at all time supply. So certain of that stuff I'm just kind of just taking notes at, but I can kind of deal with this and hook this up later, because I'm going to have some auxiliary inputs on that fuse box that I'm running anyway. So I'm gonna get over here and talk a little bit about the AC, what I figured out with that. All right, so coming around here, up under the hood here, this little center bulkhead or that center grommet there. So a lot of the AC stuff comes out of there. So the AC stuff is almost kind of like separated on its own harness between the control panel and this right here. This is some of the relays and stuff like this. I briefly spoke about some of the stuff in another video, but because I plan on rewiring this system too, just to make sure everything's good with it. But it's kind of like on everything as far as the control side. There is a blower motor feed that comes out here through the firewall, but other than that, everything else is pretty much coming through this area right there. So that makes it a little bit easier to tackle. Another thing I want to point out is on these older Chevys is this right here is the horn relay, but this part right here is just like a junction. They double that as a junction stud. So a lot of the hot wires for like the blower motor, your main hot wire coming from the fuse box feed down to the starter and stuff like that runs pretty much right here and connects to this junction point. So the horn relay has got a couple connectors down there for one of them runs over here to the horn. But the fuse box that I got from Painless, it has the horn relay built in, so I'm not going to need this relay. And a lot of this stuff is set up, like everything running off of this junction point is gonna be a little bit different with the new setup. But I am gonna, for some stuff that I need to have on a junction block or junction system, I'm gonna pretty much just add, a junction block or something that all the hot wires and things can connect to. All right, so back in the car here. So another thing that I figured out. So that's the actual fuse box there, and you can kind of see it's got the glass style fuses. I spoke about that before. You're kind of limited on adding a lot of accessories and things like that. So I've installed like a Painless auxiliary fuse block that sits over there. So basically, I've kind of got pretty much everything like kind of figured out where I can separate everything, because I will be getting rid of this auxiliary fuse block because I don't need it. So you got 3 fuses on there. There's 2 key switched on and there's 1 hot at all times. So basically, that was fed over here off of my fuse box right here through this red wire here. Then it went into this pink wire. This right here, all that does is trip the relay to that little fuse box on. It's got a relay right there. That just trips the relay on. And it gets like constant power through a 10 volt feed. I mean, a 10 gauge feed. I can show you guys that out in the engine compartment. All right, so pretty much, I have I have already had like a little mini junction box up here because I have a headlight relay on this car, a headlight relay kit. I'll speak more about that later on, but so a lot of the stuff that's up here that needs a constant hot, I had like a 8 gauge wire running over to that junction block there. And if I pull this cover off, right there, so a lot of the stuff like pretty much all I got on there. I got the headlights, the fuel injection, the feed for my Fatec fuel injection, which is an aftermarket fuel injection system. So that's the main feed in for that. And then one of those is the 10 gauge feed over here to the circuit breaker, which that goes to that Painless kit that we was talking about. So basically they use a circuit breaker. You get full 10 gauge power in there. So that's, they view that as a more reliable source. So it's getting power straight from the battery. So if you're limited on space in your classic car, you may have to run temporarily. You may have to run a auxiliary fuse box or fuse block. So, but pretty much I'm not going to have a purpose for it. So I'm pulling that out. So I want to kind of like clean up a lot of the wiring and simplify a lot of the stuff while I'm kind of in here. So I'm going to make all the new wiring as neat as possible. So this right here is probably going to be beneficial to somebody that has like one of these kind of cars or similar, like something like this 73 Impala here is kind of it's very similar to maybe a Chevelle and a lot of other cars, but they don't really make a specific replacement wiring harness for it. So a universal kit is kind of like the best way to go. And with saying that, a lot of times your Chevelle, your Camaros and stuff like that, your Monte Carlos, they have like pretty much like direct bolt-in kits that are universal. They have the updated fuses and stuff like that. But something like this is more, something that's more so custom, but it's still not too far different as far as a lot of the GM wiring and colors and stuff like that. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this thing taken apart a little bit more. A couple other things I'm gonna just kind of point out. But I was just kind of speaking on that. Maybe I'm talking about a few more things that are kind of specific to this car or my car, because other people may be starting to, because some of the things I've done in this car is, maybe already updated itself, or I'm basically replacing. I'm rewiring the car, but at the same time, I already got the decoded digital gauges. But there are going to be like some people that may not have it. They may have factory gauges, but the Painless wiring manual kind of helps you go through some of that stuff and figure out what you need to do to get that stuff kind of wired up close to factory where everything functions. So, but some cars that are out there in this era, like a lot of the big body, anything on the B body platform that, from like Oldsmobile, Cadillac, the Buick, like the Dukes and the Quarters and stuff like that, they're kind of going to be in a similar category where you're pretty much just going to have to, like, this car is like a little bit maybe more common, more popular. So more things are kind of coming on the, in the aftermarket for it. But the wiring kit is still going to be something that's universal. So that's why I was naming some of those other like popular GM cars that people may have that you pretty much, got to do a custom kit on. So this video is probably going to be more beneficial to guys like that, or somebody who's just gonna, like they got some aftermarket accessories, they got aftermarket fuel injection and stuff like that, and they're going to be upgrading their wiring and stuff like that. So basically, this is just me pointing out that I'm in the process of removing that fuse box. I get a little bit more footage on it as I get it removed. So I'm just trying to get make sure I got everything labeled, ready to come out. And as far as right here, Like this right here is an example of something that I'm not going to need. This is a part of this car has some type of seatbelt safety system in there that basically, if your seatbelt wasn't connected, it detected, it had a padding in the seat. So basically on the left and right front cushions on that bench seat, which I got that stuff wrapped up sitting over there to the side there. But so basically, if you didn't have your seatbelt on, it would send a signal, or it would the sensor would pick up and make a light in the dash. So I'm assuming this is part of it here. Then I got to see what circuit that's on. But basically, I'm getting rid of that. That's like additional wiring in the car that I don't need. So it goes kind of up over here. It might be a part of like I guess the door jamb and the light system when you open the door. So I'll figure it out. But another thing I was going to say, like some of so the AC harness kind of runs the other side. There's a little kind of plastic, what you call that, like a wire loom or wire retainer or whatever, like that plastic harness thing that goes along the dash over there. So I'm gonna go over there actually, but you can see some of those wires sticking out to that area right. So the reason that I'm pointing this out, because as I was mentioning earlier, like the AC harness kind of goes through here. Some of the light stuff kind of goes through there too. Some of the stuff I'm still gonna have to decipher to figure out exactly where it goes, but it kind of runs in through here. This is the AC that runs along through there, and it kind of comes out like middle way somewhere out to the firewall. So, and the last thing I'm gonna talk about while I'm right here is this one has a foot pedal headlight switch for the dimmer that make your lights go from light to bright. So I want to say I replaced this connector before, but in some cases it may be a little bit, it could be damaged. I may have to replace this switch again sometime, just the heat, because I got headers and stuff on here, but sometime the heat, I probably need to put a little bit more insulation here. But just to kind of point that out, the headlight switch is right here, the headlight dimmer switch, and it's got 3 wires that comes off there. And then it goes up to the fuse block. So I'm gonna be pulling that fuse block back shortly, and we'll take a look at how it is, and hopefully I can start getting like some of this wiring out of here. All right, so this is the trunk of the vehicle here, and I think I briefly spoke about some of this stuff in another video. So pretty much like everything on this part of the harness right here going out, all this is new. I rewired this stuff due to another, basically I had to hand build and custom build a rear tail light harness here. So everything for the tail lights, the fuel sending unit, basically everything that goes through this connector, the connector housing is still the original, but there are new pins in there. So I kind of talked about that, a little bit about that process. And I don't know if it was the last video or the one before that, but basically what I'm dealing with now is all the original wiring up to this point right here. So this is part of one of the harnesses that I'm having to fish out, and I'm probably going to have to depin this connector right here to get everything out. So I got to follow it up through here and see where it goes. And I mentioned that it goes through that. It goes through that. It looks like it goes up through the partial shelf here, and it kind of goes up through this partial shelf here, and I guess back down. So that's pretty much what I'm dealing with right now, trying to figure out what I'm gonna do. So I'm gonna have to take the interior down a little bit further. I really want to take all of this stuff out back here, but I might, depend on how it goes. And then I'm not sure, am I gonna run this stuff the same exact way that is ran? So I'll get to that point when I get to it, but I'm gonna go ahead and finish taking this stuff apart up here. All right, so I'm back with an update here. So pretty much what I've been doing. So I continued on to label a lot of the stuff in the harness. So this is the dash harness and all that stuff. I did find out, but I was explaining to you guys earlier, is that there's another bulkhead for just like the dash and gauges stuff, which is over behind here. And so it's a 3/8 screw bolt in there. And basically you can take the whole dash harness You can separate it out. There's still a few things I got intertwined in here. I gotta figure out what that is. It's let's see here. I think I'm just getting the wire feed here. This I got like a that's another thing I did. I know it sounds like I'm all over the place here, but so I got this disconnected. I think I'm one of this pink wire here. This is an input for something I got to figure out what I had that going to. I do got a power lock control unit system in here. Basically, it works when you stick the key in one door, it unlocks the other door. Also found a problem with that. Like it didn't blow a fuse or anything, but my power lock system that I have here. So this car is a little bit bigger than some, so I had to extend the wire for some of the locks that go in this driver's door, or either over to the passenger side. So most of these wires here go over to the passenger side, and this here goes to the driver's side. But somehow I'm not sure if this thing was touching the frame, but I got this is another issue that I found. So the power wire there, it didn't blow a fuse, but this white wire here, this was one of the connections that I had off my auxiliary fuse block because it needed a constant hide at all times. So I got my auxiliary fuse box over here disconnected, and these are all the wires that ran to it. So I just got to get the big 10 gauge power wire that's out under the hood, and I can remove that auxiliary fuse box because I no longer need that anymore. So basically, that's pretty much what I was doing, just kind of like marking stuff that I had this on. The other two things that I had on the auxiliary fuse box was an input that goes out to my fan box, which was ignition hot. Basically, when I cycle the key, just a couple, more fuses, just to keep some of the circuits off the main fuse box because it was older. All right, so in this harness here from like auxiliary fuse box, this yellow wire here, and this was a painless setup. I put this in years ago, but this is one thing that kind of gets you a little excited about the painless products because they label their wire, and my camera's just not zooming in on it. It's taking a minute, but let's see here. But this one right here, it says accessory 3 ignition hot, even though my camera can't see it. It just takes it a while to focus on something that small. It will eventually focus on it, but so it kind of tells you it's got labeled on there wire and where everything goes. So I put this in maybe over 15 years ago when I didn't have quite as many accessories, but I was mainly using it for an electric fan accessory. Basically, when you turn the switch on, ignition hot feed to go to a relay. That's before I upgraded to that fan control box that I got now. So one was going for the electric fan key on. The other one was going to over here, which I'm running an overdrive transmission. So I got this for the lockup torque converter here. I cut that, but basically I labeled it so I can hook, because it needs to have ignition on, basically key hot. I'll talk about this switch a little later. So I'm gonna have to drop this steering column down a little bit to get all the ignition wires off, because I almost got everything like disconnected to pull this fuse box. So I got the fuse box loose. This right here is the AC input. So this wire here that comes off, it's like it just connects straight into the AC control panel. That's this yellow wire that goes here. So that powers up the AC control panel, and then it distributes that power to the different switches and stuff like that, or the to the blower motor resistor and all of that stuff. And then there's a separate feed wire for the blower motor feed that I showed you guys earlier that's out in the car. I'll show you. So up under the hood, which I'm about to go under there now, the firewall bulkhead, I did get that undone. So this right here is the firewall bulkhead here. So there's a 3/8 screw in there. And a lot of these wires here are just toast. They're just old, and they probably got high resistance and a lot of other stuff. So in here, they got this black stuff on here, so that can reduce the, I'm sure back in the day that might have been like a grease or a glue, because it's like some of the ones that you don't see pins in or connector pins in, that's where they would have it looks like they put a little bit of like some glue from the factory that kind of seal that off and make it weatherproof. But I'm not sure if some of this stuff maybe got a little hot, because you can kind of see that is black stuff over the different contactors. So I'm not sure if that's signs of something that was melting. But pretty much this is the under hood section of the wiring that goes out here under the hood. And it's got stuff like this right here is the brake light warning, like if your brake fluid or pressure gets low, that goes down there to the proportion valve down there. So that's a new proportion valve. I replaced that when I did the rear disc brake conversion. So also got footage on that too, me doing a wheelwood disc brake conversion and some other stuff in this car. So this right here is the horn relay. So pretty much I got this disconnected from the hood, under hood section. So pretty much everything out here under the hood will pretty much be going to like simple gauges, temp gauges, and different stuff like that. But I got decoded digital, so a lot of my sensors, like the oil pressure sending unit, or the oil pressure, I think that's what they call it, sending unit. So that gives out the oil pressure reading, and my coolant temp sensor. So a lot of that stuff is on the decoded digital harness, which are those black, that bundle of black wires there. So it's like a temp sensor, speed sensor, oil pressure switch, and I think that might be it for the decoded digital. So basically they got their own harnesses that you run in there for that. So some of that, a lot of that stuff I won't need, but a lot of the stuff that's going to come out here is going to be, headlight stuff, turn signal, front turn signal, left and right, the blower motor feed connections that go to the washer pump, and stuff like this brake light safety switch and stuff like that. So as far as this bulkhead, I'm pretty much just going to kind of push that through, and those 3 wires that you see kind of going there, that goes to my to the dimmer switch that I just got to feed up and bring up. So I got to figure out what I'm gonna do with this hole right here. Got to find some way to kind of cover that up, because this new Painless kit that I got in this box over here, I know I haven't talked much about it in this video. I've showed it in some of the other videos, but I'm gonna talk about it more when I get ready to install it. But it has a grommet. It has this grommet that's in this bag, that all the wires that are going through the firewall, it's going to feed through that grommet. So that's like what you kind of get when you get the universal setup. So I'm gonna have to find a solution to plug off a block off that huge hole that's in the firewall. All right, so that right there is like the dash and the gauge harness. So that's kind of cool that they did that back then. That they basically kind of gave you. I got to get the rest of that bulkhead out of there. So pretty much that right there just has like most of the like supply, and it's probably also like a junction block for, let's say, like the light wires, because you got like 2 or 3 light harness wires for the interior illumination, like I was showing you guys earlier. So all of that stuff is in this harness here, but like in this bulkhead. So pretty much a lot of the sensors and the gauge warning stuff comes through here, and it gets supplied and through that harness there. So it kind of looks like a lot, but I'm kind of breaking it down and making it simple. Also the light, let me make sure. Yes, the light harness, right, which is right here, was in here too. This goes to the light switch, which will make sense. So I'm probably gonna have to I'll see what the instructions are like for the Painless kit, but I'm probably gonna have to go through here and decipher a few things to kind of get some good ideas for running the multiple wires. So I'm sure they probably got them all soldered in one connection, and then they probably have a common ground or whatever, kind of similar to like a tail light harness or something like that. And a lot of this jumbo stuff here, this is pretty much a lot of the stuff that I pretty much added on. So you can see I got some heat shrinks like right in here. So this is stuff out of the factory harness that that kind of went to the original gauge panel, which would be, see, they use lights for the turn, like light bulbs, for the left and right turn signals, and the generator light, the charge light and stuff like that. That's what both of these things are. So basically, when you go decode to digital, you're taking those inputs and cutting them off of the wiring harness and putting these wire connections into that box right there. So I've got some part of the harness out, and I'm working on I got to get this disconnected. So I'm not sure. Let me see if I can pop that off with this. So I'm trying to see. There we go. All right, so I'm trying to check because I know I replaced this switch a while ago. It may be okay. It just seemed like some of my wiring here, I'm not sure if it got too hot or if there's an issue with it. So I might just end up ordering another 4 switch. But basically, this is going to slide up through here, and I'll be able to fish that out behind this insulation there. So that's that. So I'm getting closer to getting this fuse block out. What I ended up doing on this connector here, which goes to this connection on the side of the box here. So that's a lot of the inputs and stuff for the real tail light harness, but it also has a section here that I probably can disconnect, but I'm hoping I can disconnect that separately to make it easier. Because what I've decided to do is to go ahead and, just try to get as much of the fuse box out of here on the front end side of things. So I got most of that disconnected, and you can kind of tell a lot of that wiring kind of goes up through here. So it kind of goes up there. It's probably a little tricky to see because of the light and stuff like that, but it goes up through there around here. There's kind of like a little bracket right here that it kind of feeds through, and it kind of goes over that way. So what I'm hoping to do, I gotta disconnect the other side of that junction block or that bulkhead that a lot of the stuff goes through for this harness I just removed right here. And temporarily, what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna try to, because the tail light harness, I believe I might have spoken about this before, but some of this is like I want to say it's for the starter. Some of these wires are inputs for the starter and stuff like that, and they go into a different part of the harness, kind of closer to the steering column. So this is the steering column section that I disconnected. I'm in the process of getting the ignition switch up here. So I got a few wires on the ignition switch I got to get disconnected. This right here is for the brake light switch. So pretty much just doing one thing. And in this car, I got a modified brake light switch. It's from maybe like a mid-80s Camaro. So if you want to go overdrive, retain your the function of your brake lights, but you want to basically have you want to have a switch. Basically, what it does is when you press the brakes, when the brake lights are on, it interrupts the power supply to the lockup torque converter. So if you're like coasting, anytime you're slowing down, so basically, so you don't get a judder or anything like that in the transmission. So I'll probably make a separate video talking about that. But so yeah, what I intend to do, like this tail light harness, it kind of runs over here. It kind of I won't say it runs weird, but it runs up. I showed you guys where it runs to the back, but it kind of runs up over here, and it kind of runs through here, and it runs down. There's like a little, like a kind of like a little connector, like a little something that was like secured, It's basically like a harness secure holder, and then it comes down through here, through this part here. So this right here is a tail light harness. All this that's in this plastic hard cover. So this runs along here to the back of the car. And right here you can kind of see where stuff has happened to it over time. And I've tried to repair it, this, that. So I pretty much just decided that I'm just gonna take that out a little later. I'm gonna try to concentrate on getting the main portion of the fuse box and the harness out of here. I do have to lower the steering column so I can get access to the ignition switch stuff, so I can get that out of here. But pretty much I've gotten, even though, you know, this is generally, you know, a lot of work, but you know, these older cars are a lot simpler than some of the new ones. But you know, when it comes to wiring, that can be something that's a bit complex. But I've kind of pretty much deciphered like kind of what everything is. So like you say, I got the outside disconnected. I got most of my stuff here disconnected. I kind of figured out and deciphered. Pretty much I know like all my accessories, like, you know, my alarm system, my power locks, Dakota Digital, like all the accessories and things that I have. You know, I got some audio stuff in here too. So a few things that, you know, I need to clean up, but I pretty much got it all deciphered and I kind of know what's what. And I just got to get this old stuff out, and then I can start planning on getting the new stuff in. Alrighty, so I'm to the point now where I'm about to get ready to remove the fuse box from the vehicle, the rest of it. So I kind of took note of how it ran, how it kind of goes up and along here. It goes around this hood. There's like a little hook right here. It goes on that hook and kind of through this part of the dash, this little hole here, part of the dash here. So I'm pretty much going to feed everything over to the left and get it out of here. This right here is the, I believe this is the turn signal switch right there. Or the, you refer to that as the flasher. So yeah, that's the turn signal system there. So down here, I just disconnected the ignition switch, which goes up there to that blue switch. So I did replace that in 2015, so that switch should be okay. I'm gonna check the contacts on it to make sure it's okay. This right here is the lower steering column. It goes to the steering column switch here, which is this right here. So this right here has been replaced before also. All right, so as I was just mentioning, like the steering, I've replaced this steering column switch before. This is like a Duralast one. It has like a lifetime warranty on it. I got it from AutoZone, but basically you feed this down through your steering column. So that kind of eliminates a lot of the problems that you'll have. So I've already replaced most of the switches, like the ignition switch, the steering column, which is like your turn signals and all that, because you'll have issues with that too. That's pretty common on most GM cars in the 70s, 80s, and up in the 90s. They have problems with the turn signal circuit that's in the column. Anything that has, like, you know, a GM style column may have that issue. So, and the last thing I didn't talk about, let me see. Oh, neutral safety switch. So neutral, if you have an automatic transmission, neutral safety switch would be those there. So I'm pretty much ready to remove that portion of the fuse box and get that out of the car. All right, so pretty much what I've been doing is just kind of just slowly kind of feeding this through here and just kind of slowly getting everything fed through. And lowering it out of the car. So I almost got it all fed through. But you know, some of the stuff can get hung up on each other. I gotta be careful with my AC cable that goes to over to the AC box, like the control cable. Fortunate, a good thing is all the vacuum lines and stuff kind of go over this way, so I don't have to disturb that much, but a lot of it does have to kind of come through here. So just taking my time trying to get it all sorted, or separated rather. So it's a slow go, but it's coming. But I also need to double check and just make sure I don't have anything intertwined, like with any of my accessories, like my alarm box and just other stuff that I have in here. Most of it is just getting kind of caught up on other cables and stuff. I think I almost got it right here. I think so. So hopefully I might have a ground wire attached to something else. I got to see. Most of it is just getting hung up on other wires that I had in the dash. So I think I got it. Just had to feed it out. So. Yep. And there we have it. So this right here is the this is the main fuse box harness. So this is pretty much what, that's it right there. So this is the main fuse box. It's got a lot of the main connections and stuff, and of course the bulkhead, the outside area goes there. I'm not sure what this little thing right here is. It looks like some type of thermal limiter switch, like something. I'm not sure if that's to protect this harness, or that's kind of like something on the old AC units. They used to be on the older AC units, but you know, you can get rid of that and you're running a more modern compressor like what I have now. This is the turn signal. The stuff down there that I just pointed out, the ignition switch, the steering column, and the neutral safety. And then this right here is like the gauges. It's like it goes to that bulkhead connector that's inside the car for the gauges, and in the radio. So it's like the radio, the gauges, and everything like that. So pretty much I can take all of this stuff and kind of just put it to the side. I'm not gonna throw this away until pretty much I decipher. Well, I won't say that I'm gonna use it to decipher anything, because I pretty much know. I want to say I know the car. I know pretty much like what I need to wire. I want to say the Painless kit is already like pre-terminated, or it's already terminated for the ignition switch section and stuff like that. So I just have to worry about, I believe, the steering column connections, which is this harness here. And then as far as the radio and the lights and a lot of the gauges and stuff that will run through this harness, I could pretty much run those to their respective areas. But I mean, I'll pretty much just like hold on to this for like a guide, because what I can do, like for certain stuff that I'm not that particular about, let's say the washer harness. So that washer harness, I thought it might have went kind of through here, but you know, that washer harness, it went through that bulkhead connection right here, and then it went through all of these wires back out through something over here. So I can kind of temporarily put that together and almost few things out and figure out like which wires I need to go where. And what I mean by that, I'll show you in a second. All right, so this is the other bulkhead connector for the like the dash, the gauges, and the switches, like the light switch and the wiper switch. So all of that's in here. I got everything labeled. So this right here is my my washer switch right here, my wiper switch, wiper washer, whatever you want to call it. And I got a few wire colors I can go by, so I can kind of trace that down a little bit, and I can kind of figure out. Pretty much the main thing I need to know is just where it goes over here to this area right here. So we have like a wiper motor, and then there's some wires that come over to the washer pump. So I just need to figure that out, and all of that, of course, goes through that other side of that fuse box on the back side where this bulkhead goes. So on this car, it's like four different harnesses. So you got the engine under hood harness section of it, which is this part where it attaches to this bulkhead here behind the fuse box. And then you got all your under dash stuff here. And this is like the gauge and switch stuff. So basically, once I get everything out, I got the main stuff out right here. So, but I can get this other, the only thing that's left to get out. I'll probably talk about this in the next video, because I'll do this later, like as I was mentioning. Let me see where he's at. It's actually right here where it goes up through here. So this is part of it right here, the tail light harness. And there's another part that I was able to separate. I think this I want to say this is probably like the supply for the dome lights, maybe. And also something to do with that seatbelt system, which would be this right here. So it's probably got something to do with that, those other wires. So this is that branch that was connected to, let me see where he's at. This guy right here. This is like the tail lights and stuff like this. So that there. So this is the main tail light harness. So basically that, it goes down like that there, but it's actually going, let's see, I'm trying to get it out of here. So this is pretty much going to be the next thing I'm going to be doing is getting the rest of this out from the back. So you can see it kind of runs through this little dash harness thing here. So it's like kind of like a little organizer. So it's pretty nice that they put those in these old cars like that. So this is where it goes. And you can tell, I mean, this thing is old. This is a lot of problem. Like one reason that I'm updating the wiring, because this tail light harness had problems. So it's either something shorted together, or these wires are just old. They got high resistance. Believe it or not, like this thing is real stiff like this, because these are not those flexible. It's not like flexible modern wires. This right here, this is kind of like a like that copper, that hard line core. So it's not like how we would strip. I'm trying to see for an example here, because I don't think I have anything to strip. But for example, like if I strip one of these wires right here, it'll have like multiple copper strands, kind of like this right here. This is probably, let's see, like this right here. It will have like multiple. It will have multiple strands on it. But this wiring right here, the reason it's not as flexible, like it seemed like it's kind of hard, because it's like that steel core. And you can tell right here, I put this little section. This is, I want to say, one of the brake light wires right here. I think it's, yeah, the brown. I don't know. I don't remember. Brake tail, one of them. But you can tell where I tried to repair this before, right here. But if I peel this wire back, it's like a steel. It's still copper, but it's like that. It's almost like it reminds you of solder. Like it's kind of like, it's not really all that flexible or very giving. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like a solid core wire. So a lot of these are. So if they twist and bend, the resistance can change. So that's one of the reasons I'm rewiring the car. But it's actually a good idea to rewire your car because you will find different issues and different reasons of why your wiring is bad. So this stuff right here is over 50 years old. But that's gonna be it for today's video. Thank you guys for tuning in, checking out the progress. So next up, I'll be getting the rest of that tail light harness out, and then I'll be taking notes, and I'll be coming up with a list of things that I need to buy, like switches and sensors and stuff like that. And I'll start getting the new box mounted. I'm gonna figure out like what all stuff I'm gonna repair and replace. Like I mentioned, I'm gonna replace the heater core, the blower motor, and some other things while I've got this thing down. But thanks for checking out the content. I know this video is probably a bit long. Maybe to somebody that appreciate that has a similar car that's on the B-body platform, like Impala or Caprice. But even if they got like a Buick or Oldsmobile or Pontiac or something in the 70s era, maybe it's something in this video that might help those guys out that have one of these older cars or a classic car in general. But I've kind of learned a few things taking it apart. I knew some things, but I learned a few more things. I didn't really realize this car had like basically 4 harnesses. So until next video, we'll see you next video.